house in Capernaum, packed wall to wall with people eager to hear Jesus teach. The crowd was so dense that not even a whisper of air could squeeze through. But this story isn't just about Jesus or the crowd. It's about four remarkable friends and their extraordinary determination. These friends had someone they desperately wanted to bring to Jesus, a man who couldn't walk, confined to his mat. Now imagine being them for a moment. You arrive at the house carrying your paralyzed friend, only to find there's absolutely no way through the crowd. Most people would have turned back, saying maybe next time. But not these friends. You know what they did? Something that probably seemed crazy to everyone watching. They climbed onto the roof. Yes, you heard that right. They carried their paralyzed friend up there, and then, get this, they started taking the roof apart. Can you imagine the scene? People inside probably looking up as dust and debris started falling, wondering what on earth was happening above them. Then, through this makeshift hole in the roof, they carefully lowered their friend down on his mat, right in front of Jesus. Talk about making an entrance. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Everyone's probably expecting Jesus to immediately heal the man's legs, right? Instead, Jesus looks at him and says, "Son, your sins are forgiven." Now this really stirred things up. Some religious teachers in the crowd were thinking, hold on a minute, only God can forgive sins. Who does this man think he is? Jesus, knowing their thoughts, poses a challenging question. Which is easier to say, your sins are forgiven, or get up and walk? Then, to prove he had authority to forgive sins, Jesus turned to the paralyzed man and said, "Get up, take your mat, and go home." And guess what? That's exactly what happened. The man who hadn't walked in who knows how long stood up, rolled up his mat and walked out while everyone watched in amazement. The crowd was absolutely stunned. They'd never seen anything like it. People were praising God, probably talking about this for weeks afterward. But this story teaches us something powerful. Sometimes the greatest barriers between us and Jesus aren't physical walls. They're the crowds of doubt, fear, or circumstances that seem impossible to overcome. And just like those four friends, sometimes we need to get creative, be persistent, and maybe even tear off a few roofs to get ourselves or others to Jesus. Remember, Jesus didn't just heal the man's body, he forgave his sins. Because sometimes our deepest needs aren't the ones that are most obvious to others. And true friends, they don't just help with the physical stuff. They bring us closer to the one who can heal both body and soul.